you're going to start seeing our episodes available on YouTube as well as most other podcasting platforms. But we are going to add future episodes, so weekly you'll be able to check out our episodes here on YouTube. And we are also doing that retroactively, so you will begin to see more episodes being uploaded from all other 83 episodes that we have in our docket. We will be putting those on YouTube as well, so that you can have as many listening options as you like in whatever format that you like. We really wanted to make sure that we are reaching as many people as possible. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Always feel free to reach out and contact us at Creative Therapy Umbrella. We love hearing from you. Kate at creativetherapyumbrella.com, and enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to Creative Therapy Umbrella. This is a place where we talk about all different types of creative arts therapies, expressive therapies, and creative approaches to therapy. My name is Kate Shannon. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor as well as a board-certified music therapist, and I am your host. I'm super pumped. Today is part 2 of our episode with Shelley Anderson talking all about using sign language to support communication in sessions. So this is part 2 because this episode was broken into two episodes because it was a longer episode, and also to leave a little bit of room and space to learn more about deaf culture, the deaf community, capital D, understanding how important it is that if we bring sign language into our sessions, that we know the history of oppression that has occurred in the deaf community, and that we understand how important it is that we're very clear with our intentions and that we are supporting people who are deaf and are in capital D deaf culture as well. So there are a bunch of links in our show notes where you can do that. If you didn't get a chance to do that last week, hopefully you can do that this week. We feel like that is an important part in addition to listening to this episode. So Shelley continues to share amazing things in this episode, a bunch of resources as well. She has a signing sheet that you can download in our show notes. I highly recommend getting on her newsletter. She has sent out some really amazing stuff before with intervention ideas and signs, and it's been so wonderful to be a part of that. So you're going to hear us pick up here in talking about your why in your sessions, why you do or use certain things in your sessions. So take a listen and enjoy.
Yeah, I feel like all things therapy just come back directly to that.
Yes, they do. It's like our cornerstone that we always have to come back to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our safe ground.
Yes, which I love it. It is always grounding for me of like, I literally hear it's Dr. King, who was on the podcast many episodes ago, and she would just be like, why are you doing this? Like randomly, and like when you had to do role play things. So it was like, I know why I'm doing this because I know you're going to ask me.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that because it's so, going back to that, it's like you're just grounded in your theory and approach to know what you're doing.
Absolutely. I find, so I'm doing work with practicum students and we have interns, and I find that as I've grown into that role of supervisor, I'm so much more aware of why, because there's so much that goes on in our heads that the students, they're not up there. They have no idea why I just hard right changed course in the middle of the song, and they're sitting there going, what was that?
What happened?
Why is she now in 3/4? That's wrong. And I'm with the client and I'm jamming and they're looking at me sideways that why are you doing this?
Yes.
It's so much more real for me when I have to go back and explain it to somebody.
Yes.
But ASL just holds so much of that naturally. Why are you doing this? Be direct.
Yeah, yes, that is so awesome. Well, as we're, talking about this, in music therapy, bringing in ASL, how can music therapists integrate sign language into their work in an appropriate way? When is that appropriate to bring in, and how do we do that?
So it's super simplistic, but just do it.
Yes.
Just straight up do it. sign up for my newsletter, follow deaf artists on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. There are resources out there to learn it in bite-sized chunks. So I call them sign sheets for this reason. So the pediatrician's family who said the myth to them, I was like, no,
Yes.
wait.
Yes.
I convinced her, I was like, just let me use more and all done. She's like, the other therapists use it anyways, like, go for it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And as all of us are doing it, she taps for more and now we have an M, and I'm like, what?
Ah, best
Yes,
moment. Yep.
show your mom. Like, and then the mom tells me, she's like, okay, that's great. Like, yeah, you can teach my like kids sign. I see this, but then I'm still not going to know what they're saying. I'm not in sessions with you. And she couldn't come back because the kid would be completely different and not do their work. She's like, so I still don't know what they're saying. I was like, oh, huh, like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'll teach you, but that's not practical. Like, we don't have after school hours for everybody to be teaching parents also. So created sign sheets. And what they are is they are pictures of me doing the sign with arrows, with descriptions on how to do it. So it is an at a glance reminder. So there are ones for like first signs for parents. We'll have a freebie for first signs for therapists. So yes, I'm super
Yes.
pumped about it.
Yes.
So that'll give y'all a good place to start. Just take it in a bite-sized chunk. Go on my website, find if you're doing like an entire clothing section for somebody, and just like get it off my website, put it in your office, print it off again, give it to the parents, put it above their dresser. So then when the kid is doing this, tugging on the top of their shirt, and you're like, I'm pretty sure that's shirt, right? Like, that makes sense. You glance up at the sign sheet, there it is, yep, shirt, and now you're interacting. Like, I don't believe that we have to know the entire language to use it, because we are not in D capital deaf culture. We are in communication. So don't, just like I'm not going to be like, all right, kid, day 1, 62 signs. You ready? We're going to learn them. Like,
Right.
don't do that to yourself. It's too much. You're not going to remember it.
Yes, yes, that is so. I remember feeling that way, and it's so validating to hear you say that, because I remember learning more and all done, and
Mhm.
then being like, I want to learn more, because in every session to just have a language rich environment of just bringing in, so, and then it was stop and go, which
Mhm.
was like easily using those in music. And then
Yes.
I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just learn the colors next. Like, I'll just go through the colors and have those. And like, learning it piece by piece like that is so much more fun, and it kind of gets your own juices going of like,
Mhm.
ooh, it's spring and I'm doing a rainbow, now I can have all the color signs with the scarf, and
Yes.
it's fun to take little things like that and just add them to what you're already doing.
Absolutely. And that's how I encourage people to learn. So I teach signing for professionals also. You can take individual classes with me. It's a group of 3, and like, I'll warn you, we are fast paced because we're professionals. You don't have a lot of time to sit with me day in and day out, but I chunk it out. Like, we're learning the alphabet, colors, and animals today. And if we get done early, then we're practicing. So like, chunk it out. When I have the Tabano drum that has all the rainforest animals on it, I have so many littles that are like, oh, the monkey. And I'm like, heck yeah, man,
Yep.
monkey, like elephant, there it is. And you just start naturally incorporating them. I have kids
Yeah.
that don't need sign language that I just naturally incorporated into sessions. And they're like, oh, look at that. Like, check out elephant. Hey, that's really
That's
fun. And now we're
fun.
like stomping around the room, signing elephant. And
Yes.
then that child, now when they meet somebody who's deaf, they meet somebody in the special education classroom who's signing, they're like, hey, like, check out my elephant sign. And the kid's like, yeah, man, elephant.
And it's that moment that you talked about of like that
Yes.
is immediate connection and relationship happening, which is so cool.
Yes. Signing times, motto is so not the word I'm looking for, but mission statement maybe, um, is that they want to teach sign language, that everybody should know a little bit of sign language just like most people know a little bit of Spanish. Like, I know a little bit of Spanish, and when I meet somebody, I use all 6 words that I know quickly because I'm trying to relate to you. I'm trying to show you that I'm really trying here. So then when your kid meets my kid on the playground, all they need is the sign friend and play, and they're off being kids together. There isn't this like, what are you doing with your hands? Mommy, why won't he talk to me? You've already included it in their learning environment, and off they go.
Yes. And it's that speaks so much to just normalizing
Oh,
various modes of communication of like there are lots of different ways to communicate. And the I think when we can bring that in for kids of if we're coming in and doing a music group and not a single kid uses sign, but we just go, like more all done, or this is the red thing and yada. Like if we're just doing that, it becomes so I don't want to use the word normal, but just it's a part of the environment, which is
yes.
so good for that's how things should be. Like all of these things should just be like a naturally communication kind of rich environment for exactly that, for then that one kid on the playground who's like, yes, let's play, let's do it, and then they're off.
Yes. I have so
Yeah.
many people, I've done presentations at conferences and such too, that come up to me and they're like a waitress or a librarian, and they're like, someone came up to me and like I knew, hi, my name is, and spelled it out. And they had to sign so slowly to me. I felt so bad. I'm like, no, you communicated in their language. Like, that is huge. That shows connection. That shows you care. And here you are learning a little bit more so that you might see them again. You can connect that much further. Like, that means the world to people.
It does. And as therapists, that's what we're all about is, helping people connect in all of those different ways.
Yeah. There's
Yes.
another article that talks about how, like, the different aspects of communication in general.
Hmm.
And by Melanie Sunson. And she says, according to Albert, I was going to call it Albert because I'm going to butcher his last name, Albert M's 73855 rule of personal communication, only a small percentage of communication is actual words. 7% to be exact. 7%
It's so
is
mind
actual
blowing.
words.
Hmm.
And they, like, broke it down, and yes, like, my mind was just blown. Like, we put so much stock into, clear speech, clear communication. We need to write well, be concise yet kind. Like, we put so much stock into that, but when you break it down, 55% of communication is visual. It's body language, it's eye contact. 38 is vocal. So your pitch, your speed, your volume, your tone. We always know when someone has sassed us because we can hear it.
Yes. Or like, just, I love that. This is actually something I talk about all the time with if you're like reflecting a statement back to a kid or you're connecting and you're like, you can say it so many different ways and it means something different every time of like, you look really happy or you look really happy versus you look really happy. Like it's all the same verbal thing, but they're like three completely different things that you're hearing. And it's so
Yes.
crazy that just your tone and inflection changes that completely.
Yes. And like for those of us listening on the podcast, like I could see your face change, but like y'all still heard that. Y'all know what
Yes.
Kate's face just did for each of those because we pair all of it together, but that's 93% nonverbal communication. Whoa.
It's
So,
so amazing.
yes, so like in ASL, so another deaf culture thing, you don't fixate on their hands while they're signing. You watch their eyes, just as I'm looking at your eyes as I talk now. I'm not going to look down at your microphone and watch it because that is where I am getting sound to me. So same thing. You watch their eyes and people are like, but I can't. Like initially you're not going to be able to. You're going to be really fixated on what are they signing, trying to get it right. But as the more you use it, the more it just comes naturally. You're naturally just going to watch people's face because you get so much from the face. A lot of it is expression. If I'm sitting here signing this, like you have no idea what this is because my face is just kind of sitting here. I'm like, oh, man, like this is sad. Like it is a full body experience. And like then bringing that into therapy, you're teaching emotions and I'm gonna pick on the interns. I love y'all. You're so great. But you like
You're the
will
best.
practice with me and your
Mm-hmm.
face is flat because you're concentrating so hard and I so appreciate your concentration. But
Yes.
then I like sometimes will have to reflect that back to students and be like, do I look sad right now? And you're like, oh, like you look like you're kind of mad at me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not, but that's what your face is showing. So as we're teaching emotions, therapists naturally can be like, oh, this is the worst. And your face just shows it. Or like, you're going to show that you're super pumped. We say like happy. What does a happy face look like? Oh, it's a smile. Your cheeks get bigger. Your eyes are bright. You're frowning when you're sad. Like you do that in ASL. And that is a lot of the communication right there too.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And even thinking of that like musically, I feel like it's it would be like, okay, if you're playing We Don't Care If the Rain Falls Down and you were just like, we don't care if the rain falls down. We're gonna play it all day. Like if you're playing it like that, it's just kind of like, well, okay, it's there, but it's not communicating anything versus like, oh, we're gonna don't care if the rain comes down, we're gonna play it all day. Whoa, like you're adding so much more and you're not changing any words. And part of that too, I feel like, is I don't look at your mouth when you're speaking. I look at your eyes, your arms, it is a whole body experience, but we never talk about that. It's just like not talked about it in speaking or in our communication system that much.
Right. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing when you start, like I challenge y'all to go talk to somebody, to watch your clients, because you can also find like we know to look for disconnects there. Like, oh, I'm really happy today. Oh, like, are you? Because I don't
You're
think you
telling me you're
are.
happy, but what I'm seeing here. Yes.
Right. Or like I had
Mm-hmm.
a kid who always wanted to be silly in the hello song. So he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sick." I'm like, "Really? 'Cause you just like sprinted all the way in here. Like, I don't really think you're sick." He's like, "Oh no, like I'm sick." Like, but he's like giggling the whole time. Like, I know that this is funny to him because of the nonverbal communication. So like go like watch for that. Like just kind of like take notes a little bit and be like, huh, yeah, I like watch people's face. I don't stare at their mouths, especially right now because all of this is covered up. We're all
Right?
a little fatigued because we've lost, like, you can't see from waist down and you can't see my mouth moving. You lose so much. And we've all talked about that with masks. Now put that into like sign language too. If you're dropping affect, if you're dropping the emotional full body experience behind of it, same thing. You're like, something feels a little off here. I don't know what to do with it.
Yes. It could be so confusing to the listener of like what is happening, and like you're doing so much more work to
Yes.
try to figure out from the person who's communicating of like, what are you trying to communicate? I'm very confused, or what's happening.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just glancing at my notes too, like there's an article talking before speaking,
Mhm.
using ASL to increase communication. Yay, dispel that
Yeah.
myth a little bit more.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and this one is specific for late talkers, but it says when children are exposed to signs, they experience the word in a multisensory way. So there's a big push, like we need to write it, we need to say it, we need to craft it, we need to draw it. Like we're appealing to all learning styles here. You need to act it. You brought sign in, and some other learner is going to pick it up so quickly. They're like, oh yeah, like that totally makes sense because I feel it in my body now. I am doing it.
Yes. That like kinesthetic, like that's like if you're a kinesthetic learner, like that is going to be your jam. And even I think about, and this is making me think of some drama therapists who have come on and talk about embodying different emotions and different characters and all this and how therapeutic that can be. And I feel like this is such a great start to that for so many kids of you're embodying sadness, like what does that really look like? And then you're having to do, your shoulders hunch over, or I'm thinking tired too. Had a lovely client that I worked with that would just like, so tight, like I mean just like fall over with tiredness. I was like, I get it, you're tired. But that like embodying it too is so, what a great way to have the kinesthetic experience to then learn and continue that, especially if that's like your learning style.
Yeah. What I
Yeah.
love even more is like, this is the sign for tired. And that is
Uh-huh.
exactly what you were doing. Like, that is how we show it, is like kind of like fingers to armpit,
And then,
hunch in, and just like,
yeah. Oh,
like you feel it. You
yes.
see it and you feel it deep within you, the tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Like
so much.
a lot of signs like that, they make sense. And then there's
Yes.
some that like so don't make sense. And
Mm.
like, but that's just like part of the language. There's some words that so don't make sense in our
Oh,
language
so
too.
many. So many. And the
Um,
same word that's 8 different meanings. And yeah.
yes. So
Yes.
like it all connects, and
Mm.
it's so so cool.
It is. It is. And I love all of, I love that we touched on misconceptions, like these ways to that we can bring it in. Do you feel like there's anything? I know you have your sign sheet that we have for listeners so they can hop in, they can download that sign sheet of like these awesome signs to get you started. Are there any last tips, if it's about like more stuff about advising parents on how to start with stuff beyond the sign sheets, or any last thoughts you want to leave listeners with about signing in the therapy room?
Yeah, I just be consistent with it too. So the first time that they say cookie, don't immediately drop the sign. They've paired that together. That sign is helping. So, like, keep going with it. And then people ask me, well, for how long? Like, feel it out, man. Use your therapistly, sis.
Yes.
Therapistly-ness. And just go with it. Like, you'll be able to feel it out. And if you can't, keep the sign around. The kid might drop the sign at some point. Keep it along a little longer and then drop it as well. If you find they're regressing in their speech, bring it back. Like, it doesn't, I feel like we're learning a new language and it has to be XYZ way and it has to be proper and it has to be perfect and I have to memorize everything. And you don't, like, take the stress off, dive in. They're learning with you. If they're learning with another therapist, they're going to teach you signs. But get on board with it. So like if you are using these sign sheets, like I don't expect people to like buy multiple copies. Download it, print it off 200 times, like print as many as you need. Print it for the school, print it for the babysitter, print it for mom, dad, grandparents. Like everybody gets a copy. All the therapists get a copy, because if only you are doing it one time a week for 45 minutes, you're helping, you're doing good, but it's just not going to click. It needs to be this whole experience. Everybody's on board with it. Um, I'll like cut them out, laminate them, and put them on binder rings. You can clip them to a name tag then, particularly for like school paras. Awesome. So everybody needs to be on board. Don't drop the sign immediately once they can start, and then just do it.
Yes.
Just do it.
Love that. If I can add one more thing to that, I love the binder clip thing. I used to, and I actually used to do this with PECs as well, but signs for, I had a lot of kids that would use sign language. If I had things in bins in my room, I would have a picture like that of doing the sign on the bin. So then it was also like, here are the things, like here, like labeling. So it was like you're labeling it, but like also just like that language rich environment of like, here's where this is, and here's where, oh, you want this? Okay, whatever it was, the train thing. Okay, it's in here. There's so many ways that you can use like those sign sheets to not just on the sheet itself, but there's so many ways to use it in the environment.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yes.
Yes. Like,
Yeah, it was so
put these
helpful.
signs everywhere. Put
Yep.
outside signs on the door outside. Like, laminate it. It's fine. It gets ruined by weather, blows off, print off another one.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
yes, just have them. Yes, I love that idea of the language rich environment. And then if you are a therapist, you're going to have kids going, what is that? Like, what is this picture? Oh, like that's the sign
There's a
for ball.
piano. I
That's
like,
for piano. That is
yeah.
train. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're incorporating that into their language. They go home. I teach my kiddos lots of like theme signs. So Halloween, we learn like ghost and pumpkin and all these exciting ones. And these kids get so excited to go home and show their family. They're like, oh yeah, like I learned Christmas today. And then you can have like Christmas tree. And then you can have like Santa. And then you can have a pumpkin. And like they go home and their parents are like, whoa, man, like where'd this come from? But their kids so excited to talk about something
Yes.
language rich.
Yes, yes, I love that. And I love how you've told it kind of throughout this whole thing, and it really just like is a ripple effect. How it just keeps going, that, if one kid asks a question, it goes home, then parents might learn it, and then it might be connecting to someone who uses it. Like it just continues to go, which is so amazing, the ripple effect that we can have by having this in the environment and using it.
Yeah, yeah. There's one, it feels totally like left field, but it's something that I've recently learned. So I was thinking of this in relation to like social media and like spreading the word about sign language. But I follow some deaf artists, some deaf people, and a big thing right now is sign language is growing in popularity. Whoa, pumped,
Yes,
yay!
yes, yes.
But we don't
Hmm.
like want to oppress their language either. Um, so I have learned recently that by me as a hearing person posting reels on Instagram, I just because like I am a white female, white business owner, I'm educated, I naturally have more followers than these deaf artists. And like unfortunately that's just reality. But because of that, my reels get seen more than their deaf art, more than their language. So I have actually, I won't be posting, I'll post videos, but not reels because I posted one for Pinterest and like within an hour it had like 1,000 views. And I was like, what is this? Like, it was my first like really crappy reel, like tried my best, but it's not very good.
Yes. Oh my gosh, reels are so hard. I feel like an old
Yes.
person saying that, but they're not easy.
They're so hard.
They are.
Yes, but I was, watching their stories and they're like,
Mm.
stop doing this. Stop signing songs for fun," particularly because a lot of y'all are not doing it correctly too. Um, Stop because then your stuff is getting seen and us who are in the culture, this is my life, this is my language, we're not being promoted, we're not being seen in our communities. So note too, like absolutely spread the good word of ASL, go out, teach your friends, like make this a part of people's culture that they recognize it and can then communicate with people around them. But also, like, don't start claiming to be the expert. don't start posting reels about it. I've just been really learning a lot about that. I think it's
Yeah.
coming out more.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you spoke on that and the importance of that too, that, even us talking about this right now is to hearing, like able-bodied hearing individuals. And I think making sure that we make that distinction of like, we are hearing, we are talking about this in this particular context, but we want to bring as much respect to the deaf culture as possible, and make, which you did so beautifully, a very clear distinction of how we're using ASL in therapy versus how, using it in the deaf culture and what that looks like and how very, very different that can be. And making sure, like you said too, with social media, promoting deaf culture, if you see that reel, liking it, sharing it,
Mhm.
anything like that too, to continually make ASL, to make it grow and support deaf culture too.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yes.
these deaf artists, like, they are cool, guys. Like, you
Yes.
go in knowing no sign language, you're like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, go
Yes.
follow deaf artists. It is so cool. They do really
That's
amazing work.
awesome. Yes. Well, everyone will have to follow you on Instagram because I
Mhm.
know you share that stuff too, so people can get to you there. One more thing I want to make sure we touch on before you let us know where we can find you is you also do some really cool stuff on Pinterest. Can you give us a little highlight about what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
I love Pinterest so much. Like, I'm
Yep.
such a visual person. Like, Kate and I can
Same.
totally go on about this for days. We are
Hmm.
organized people. We like the visual
Yes.
aspect of it. Like, you can follow me personally. I don't necessarily like recommend it. It's all food and special diets that I'm posting about, but like boards on boards on boards of just coolness. And I love Pinterest because it organizes all of it. So when like I have a lot of different like health diet needs. So when I'm on Whole30, like I can just go boom, right there it is. So I then translated that to my business world and I was like, okay, so if I'm finding all these recipes, I'm finding all these crafts, like why can't people find businesses on there? So I kind of tested it out myself and it works, guys. Like you, yes, you have free, it is free
Completely
promotions
free.
on Instagram. Get on Instagram too, but on Pinterest.
Hmm.
Um, just by posting there, just
Yep.
by, like, working within their algorithm, by posting consistently. There's, like, boards, and you can have subboards under there where you organize them all. Um, but I know that can be super daunting for people too, or, like, I've worked with a lot of people who are like, "Yeah, I did it, like, 3 years ago, and then I changed websites, and now all of my links are broken." PS, people, if you
Oh.
change websites, all of your links are broken. Go fix them on Pinterest. Pro tip.
Yes. So true.
Like I just got rebranding. Shout out
Mhm.
Aspire Music Therapy for helping me rebrand my website. Highly
Shout out,
recommend
she
her.
she may be coming on the podcast soon, so
Whoop,
stay
whoop.
tuned. Yep.
Yes, love Nicole.
I know, me too.
But I had to go back and completely redo my Pinterest because all of my links were wrong. So, like that takes time and energy that you as a business owner do not have. I, however, get great peace and joy out of organizing, and I would love to organize your Pinterest for you. So you can set up a consultation with me. I meet via Zoom. That way we can screen share and well, it's actually Google Meet, but same difference.
Same old. Yep.
We
Mhm.
like get into your Pinterest. I'll talk about the algorithm, talk about what you should be pinning, how to pin if you haven't gotten into that realm yet, and tell you what I see that I like about your page, what I see that could be enhanced. I go through your website, like I really dig into your business so that we're talking about really relevant things, because things that are going to work for Kate are not going to work for somebody else. Things that work for me are not going to work for Kate. So I make it really personalized. I'm like happy to answer all of your questions. If you're new to the world, come see me. But it also takes time to post to Pinterest. It takes time to make the post. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Don't let that daunt you out of using Pinterest. But it does take time to work with the algorithm and to get everything organized. So I've had business owners who will bring me on for a month or two, and I just take over their Pinterest. I'll completely organize it for you. I'll make sure all your links work and
Yes.
go through it and organize it. And then they take it back and they go post. And then I have other business owners who are like, hey, man, I see the benefit, but I don't have time for this. And so I monthly, or throughout the month rather, go and post to their page for them. I'm posting relevant content. I'm promoting it for you, going through, and you can see on your website stats where it works and what pins are really hitting. And then if you share those stats with me, I can do my job even better. Yeah, so like come hang out with me. I love talking Pinterest. I do
Yes.
consultations, I do takeovers. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I love that you do that, like such a specialized service. I love Pinterest, have loved it for, I did the classic Pinterest wedding thing, like loved it.
Mm.
But then with business stuff, I was like, oh, I just don't know. I don't know if it will really drive traffic. And then I sat down like one weekend, I was like, no, I'm figuring some of this out. It was so much work. And looking back, I would have loved to have had someone to pass that, to be like, that it was so much work to do it on my own and figure it out. But now that I have it set, it is amazing. It's like a search engine and automatically just getting sent. Like seeing my stats now of stuff that comes from Pinterest like blows my mind. So I think get on Pinterest, get a hold of you, and like it's just amazing. It's amazing what Pinterest can do for your business to get seen.
Yes. And
Yes.
like this can be Pinterest for music therapy business owners too. Like you don't have to be selling things for this to be exciting. Like if you don't have product, you have services, get on Pinterest anyways. Like the Pinterest is for everyone. I was just on there looking up if aloe is safe for my cat. So I was like, oh, I might like want a nice aloe plant. And like I don't go to Google, I go to Pinterest.
Pinterest. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it
So
is.
much.
It's just I'm like a visual person and it's a visual search engine. So it's magical on there. I highly
It
recommend.
is. It is. Well, I will make sure listeners have a direct link to get to you to book that for any of our creative arts therapists, any therapist, whatever you're offering, business, services, products. Pinterest is the place to be.
Mhm.
And we'll also have links to all of your other stuff too, your newsletter and all of that in the show notes. But can you tell us if there is anywhere, if there's an email to reach you at, if you even want to tell us your website quick, which will be in the show notes. But some people like to auditorily hear things instead of visually see them. So let
Yes.
us know.
I am notes two, the number two, live by on all platforms. So
Awesome.
www.notes2liveby.com. If you want to email me, I'd so love to hear from y'all. I'm Shelley, Shelley. I have two L's, two E's, at notes2liveby.com. Those research articles that I was talking about today, if you sign up for my newsletter, you automatically get sent articles that I was speaking from today that you can give to parents. It's all about how to start signing, why you should be signing. We didn't get into this too much, but like it's not just for kids, like adults need communication too. So just so many really good resources from like deep, real like fact, scholarly is the word I'm looking for, scholarly articles to the more condensed versions that parents have time to read, like quick, bang, boom. There's several on there. So check that out. And then I send out monthly sign language resources. There's usually a video of me doing the sign, and then there's a sign sheet as well, so that you can have that at a glance reference. I'm on Instagram, kind of sort of on Facebook, to be honest. I'm more on Instagram.
Visual. Visual.
It's visual.
Same.
I'm on Pinterest. Yeah.
Awesome. I will make sure we have links to all of that. Shelley, this has been so wonderful. Thank you for coming on and just sharing your passion and spreading the love of sign, as it just keeps that ripple effect going. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I had so much fun chatting with you today.
Good. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned some stuff about using sign language to support communication with kids, the kids that you work with. So be sure to check out our show notes. It is loaded with good stuff this time around. I feel like usually it is, but this one in particular, lots of really great information in our show notes. So feel free to check those out. Again, a gentle reminder, we always have our anonymous survey in our show notes as well, where you can give us any type of feedback that you like, things that you want to see more of, something that we may have missed. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to use that space, or always email to kate@creativetherapyumbrella.com. I would love to hear from you. Sending you lots of warm thoughts, and looking forward to getting an exciting episode out to you next week. Take care and be creative.